Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and
Americans from the beginning have always justified many of their steps as actions done to ensure equality and freedom among them. We believed and claimed that the Revolutionary War was fought to receive independence from Britain and create a nation that honors equal rights and freedom to express America. The Declaration of Independence stated that all men are created equal. In short, Americans claimed to bring inalienable rights to everyone. They strongly believed that the Constitution was a document that governed the nation and kept it together.
But that's not really what happened.
Even after winning the Revolutionary War, America continued to mistreat African Americans like they did before the war. In fact, it even increased. For example, George Washington prevented African Americans from becoming soldiers in the Revolutionary War Army. While the Constitution called for freedom and equality, the Fugitive Slave Act was created to capture runaway slaves who crossed state lines or escaped into federal territory in search for freedom. Rebellions from the African Americans, like the Stono Rebellion, strengthened the strict laws against them. In other words, the Constitution was not a strict document like they originally planned it to be, since it was interpreted in many different ways from various individuals. While the First Amendment provided people with the rights of speech and freedom, the Alien and Sedition Acts gave the president new powers to deport foreigners if they were to print, utter, or publish any false, scandalous, malicious writings about the government.
After Americans received independence from Britain, the focus changed towards producing crops and participating in global marketing. The slaves were forced to harvest the crops in dangerous conditions and work day and night for the southern plantation owners. Even though Americans had labeled the recent independence as a medium to bring equality, they were taking advantage of African Americans for self-interest.
The voting rights were limited to white males who met the property requirements. The Constitution created a government that respected human rights, but it also allowed for the enslavement of African Americans and second-class citizenship for women.
David Ramsey, in his document, A Dissertation on the Manner of Acquiring the Character and Privileges of a Citizen of the United States, states that subjects look up to a master, but citizens are so far equal that none have hereditary rights superior to others. However, African Americans and women were left behind in this time period since they did not possess rights to own property and to vote compared to white males who possessed them.
Americans took advantage of African Americans to profit tremendously from their hard labor. They wanted to advance in terms of global marketing and trade with other nations to raise American reputation. After gaining independence, Americans sought for the opportunities that would help advance the United States. Although it revealed hypocrisy, Americans used the human and environmental resources available to them to fulfill their self-interests.
After winning independence from Britain, America began exploring its newfound liberties. Americans relied upon their leaders to build this new republic and advocate democracy. These leaders have appealed to the people through promises and flawless speeches. We believe the leaders to be people who sought out to protect equality and fair treatment of everybody, as well as one who would let the Constitution guide and limit their power.
But that's not really what happened.
During the time period of democratic development, the title of the common man was questionable for leaders. It is normally referred to poor white men, leaving out many women and African Americans. Presidents like Jefferson and Jackson are praised for supposedly intending to show justice to both the majority and the minorities by controlling their power under the Constitution. But in reality, they favored political, regional, and racial sides, all in favor of the common man. They even went against their democratic Republican ideas of strict interpretation of the Constitution and greatly expanded the power of the federal government.
The purchase of the Louisiana Territory was at first unconstitutional. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that the purchase of new territory could be authorized by the President. Jefferson was big on promoting how important it was to strictly follow American Constitution. Yet, he purchased millions of acres without concern of it. This purchase also led to the expansion of the slavery institution. This broke the supposed promise for liberty to all people since African Americans were taken to the West to continue their hard labor.
Jackson ordered the forceful removal of thousands of American Indians from U.S. territory, mainly in the state of Georgia. Indians had to leave their homes and had to travel down to assigned areas in Oklahoma. This resulted in many deaths due to famine and disease, which led to it being called the Trail of Tears. The Indians accepted their fate from the intimidation and empty promises from the government.
Jackson did not approve of having a central bank since he believed it held too much power. Yet he increased his own power by asserting a veto on the charter. The bank charter was developed in hopes of economic recovery by being constitutional and was accepted and encouraged by Jackson's cabinet members as well as it was in Congress. Past presidents scarcely used their veto power and only used it when a law was unconstitutional. Jackson vetoed numerous times due to his personal opinion and his need to please the interests of the people, while in reality, it hurt the economy by leading to the Panic of 1837.
Jackson has said that it is to be regretted that the rich and powerful too often bend the acts of government to their selfish purposes. In this statement from Jackson's bank veto message, he explains that the reasoning was to protect the non-wealthy and help the people who can't take advantage of this charter. But this once again goes against his idea of a smaller federal government, because by taking power away from the bank, he was putting it towards him.
Leaders wanted to have political support and interest of the people to maintain power. Expansion of land gave America more development towards its recognition as a powerful nation. Economic gains were also involved in decisions made as well as benefits concerning the presence of disturbances.
America came out of the Second World War as not only a hero, but as a superpower. On the global scale, the USA took this newfound position of power to become the protector of the free world, ensuring peace, democracy, and happiness to everyone across the world. While everyone was at home, people still had the basic freedom to believe and act in any which way they felt.
But that's not really what happened.
Instead of protecting and democratizing a world that the U.S. said they were doing, they were in fact doing the opposite. A series of United States administrations formed close ties with some of the most corrupt and brutal rulers on the planet, from the Shah of Iran to the Philippine dictator Ferdinand Marcos. United States leaders publicly praised the tyrants as if they were free world figures. In several cases of Latin America, the government would replace democratically elected leaders with leaders that had more pro-American ideologies. And back at the home front, things weren't that much better. People still didn't have the freedom or equality based on their beliefs. People with different ideologies, or ones that were suspiciously not American enough, were penalized. Many African Americans were still socially segregated from whites during this time, even after the Civil Rights Movement. And still, many other races, like the Koreans in California, were still being discriminated against. Also, people with psychological disorders were physically as well separated into mental institutions, or, like Kennedy's sister, had lobotomies done to try to fit in with society.
This time of American history was strongly marked by middle-class conformity. The dream was to have a nice house with a yard, 2 kids, a beautiful wife, and a dog. Many of the houses looked exactly the same, and those were called Levittown homes. These molds of perfection were greatly influenced by the new invention of the television and the programs that were shown. Sadly, African Americans and other immigrants did not fit this idea and were displaced into dilapidated city centers.
During the 1950s, America went into a frenzy, paranoid phase where they had fear of communists in the United States. This led to the creation of Executive Order 9835, which searched for communists in the government and made it legal to fire them because of their beliefs. The Internal Security Act was also created, which severely limited the freedoms of Americans.
Under the disguise to protect Vietnam and to protect the free world, the U.S. sent in many armed forces to defeat the Viet Cong in South Vietnam. But this not only took away the freedom of many American men because of their forced draft into the army, despite the large disagreements about the war by the American people, but it also took away a lot of the freedom from the villagers in Vietnam because they were horrendously mistreated and a lot of their homes were destroyed during secret bombing. To get peace, the United States went to war.
Although the speech, What is an American by Harold Ives, was written in 1944, it was still extremely relevant to the country during the Cold War. Questions about where American values have gone during this time were, what has happened to our vaunted idealism? Why have some of us been behaving like scared chickens? Where is the million-throated, democratic voice of America?
America was going against its goals to effectively protect the free world because it wanted to stay powerful and gain more influence to be able to become the most powerful nation in the world, which it was able to do. Furthermore, there was an economic gain to it. The United States knew that a communist country would not want to trade, and trade well, with a more capitalist society. America just wanted to make money.
Hypocrisy wasn't an honest statement in a way that it twisted the truth of what Americans believed was the foundation of the new ideas of the country.
Hypocrisy ended up becoming a positive advantage in the upcoming of America because it allowed for America to become what it is today, powerful and advanced. The American history illustrates that hypocritical intentions can cause disenchantment of some groups, but it can also lead to progress of the nation as a whole. The nation is ruled by humans, and because of that, it will never be perfect. A great human flaw is being hypocritical, and because of that, our nation has therefore become hypocritical. Whether that is a bad thing is up for you to decide.